All right, it is 3 p.m. We will call the regularly scheduled Hutchinson Utilities Commission meeting to order. Do any of the commissioners have any conflicts to declare?
None.
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll go right to the consent agenda and look for a motion to approve the consent agenda, which contains the approval of the minutes and ratification of payment of bills.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Kathy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Financial statements. Jared.
Just gonna mention that revenues on the electric division were up with the industrial class leading that. It was down on the other side, but the PCA also helped. That was 275,000 roughly. We did not charge a PCA the year before. Sales for resale continues to be down. Obviously, we don't have that engine. It's also slightly cooler than the year before, so we just didn't generate much for market sales. Other than that, otherwise the net stayed pretty close to the same despite all that. And on the gas division, also very similar. The industrial was up, so that, but the expenses also increased with buying gas. So that's all I had.
Yeah, other than everything's kind of some of those anomalies we've talked about the last few months. It stayed pretty stable. Obviously, consumption's still trending pretty low last year, so I don't anticipate that changing for the rest of the year, unless we really get a cold stretch here in fall, early part of winter, where maybe the gas side turns around. But I think the electric side will be, under, what we think for 2023. So I'm not expecting any real major changes there from looking at the weather. When you look at the forecast, looking out, you're in the 60s and 70s and low 80s. So I don't think that superheat's gone. And if we get a couple stretches of maybe a day or two, I don't think we're going to see any prolonged stretches of that where we're going to see any real major penetration as far as increased load. So you can expect probably we're not going to meet our budget. I'm thinking we'll be in that 97% range of budget is kind of where I think we'll be trending at the end of the year. As Jared mentioned, the gas side was up a little bit on the industrial class. We did have a little bit higher gas expenses this month in a couple of the areas. We had some prepaid gas that we had to finish burning up, so we've been using up some of that gas over the last couple months in our generators to run for electricity. So we've had some prepaid gas that had been sitting on the balance sheet that we've had to kind of burn up and get our imbalance back in line. So that's been done through kind of the end of July, and so we're back to normal. Besides that. So that's why you see some of the gas expenses a little bit higher than maybe what we'd see this time of year, particularly on the electric side and on the gas side, just because we were kind of stockpiling volumes of gas over the winter. That was, it was a warm winter. We didn't go through all of our volumes, and so we had, $4.53 gas that we were having to burn up and get through the system. So that was a little bit unusual that we typically don't have. And then otherwise, everything's kind of fairly stable for the most part. Investments, again, we talked a little bit about that last couple of months. We're more on the short end because of our projects. So, obviously we're starting to see investment percentages and interest percentages starting to trickle down in anticipation of Fed reductions. So, that started 4 weeks ago. And, some of the short-term investments and some of the medium-term investments we're seeing, below 4s now, 3/8, 4s, where we were seeing 4.5s, 5s, 5.5s. So I would anticipate as we reinvest, some stuff that's coming due, we may not quite get, the interest rate that we were, especially on some of that short stuff that we just keep rolling over into new investments in anticipation of maybe some of these cash outlays with some of the projects. And then of course we've got still a little bit of amount on the back end that's still out there ways at those 4% ranges. So in the declining potential interest rate environment, some of the stuff we're recirculating through, good for issuing debt, but not good for reinvesting. But we'll just kind of watch that and see where that goes. So otherwise, I think things are tracking as normal for the most part. So, any questions on any of the financials through August?
Nope.
Doesn't sound like it. Hearing none. Entertain a motion to approve the financial statements.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Anthony and second by Matt. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the open forum on the agenda. See anybody here to speak? So we'll go into communication, starting with Matt Yannick.
Afternoon, everyone. Not a whole lot. Most of the street projects in the city are wrapping up. I think Jefferson and Airport Road intersection probably middle of September. And then the VMF, I think they have half lights up, the other half it's too wet to put the poles in, so we're just kind of waiting for that. And the grandstand will probably start later this week. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Divisions? Dan?
Nothing today. I do apologize, I usually give you guys an update when we have outages in town, and I realized this week I forgot to update you on the last two large ones we had, so quickly, on Friday the 16th, we ended up having a couple good-sized outages. One was shortly after 1 a.m. We had a feeder wire go bad in the trail, and it knocked out the southeast part of town, or southwest, for 40 or 50 minutes. And then that afternoon, we had a switch that failed over in the south part of town. So those are the two things I'm sure you all heard about, but I thought I'd very quickly explain what all happened with those. So they've since been repaired, everything's back to normal. So we're good to go there. And that's about it.
Any, with the storms the last couple days, any outages at all?
All we had, with the heat, we had one transformer fuse blow that just overheated. 12 people for about 20 minutes.
Nothing with the wind and rain?
Nothing with the wind. No, just that one issue on Monday afternoon, about 5 o'clock. Yeah. Other than that, everything held pretty good.
All right, thank you. Mike?
I believe Jeremy kind of gave you guys an update on where we're at with Unit 1, down 6,000. We did get some feedback from GE today that we have Jeremy and I have a leadership meeting scheduled with GE's leadership tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So hopefully we can get some questions answered. I don't know if you guys have any certain questions you would like answered. You could email those to Jeremy and we can try and get those answered tomorrow. Other than that, we're kind of at a standstill right now with that. So.
Okay. Jared?
Nothing new this month.
Angie?
Yeah, we have now posted the natural gas division manager position this week. Along with that, we had our MinOps audit a couple of weeks ago, and that went well. There are 3 items that we needed to add to our O&M manual, but those have already been sent off to Todd there, and this year was a heavy year for audit. We had about 6 audits this year. Next year, even adding Heartland Corn audits, we're only gonna have about 3. So 2 or 3 audits, so that will feel nice. Yeah,
Okay.
but it was a heavy year, but they all seem to have gone well,
It did,
so.
yeah.
Mhm. Yep, that's it.
All right. Mark, anything on the legal side?
Nothing today.
And back to you, Jeremy.
Nothing really. I gave you guys a business update yesterday on some of the big things that we're working on. I'm anticipating coming forward in September with some contracts. We're working through some ones that maybe have expired or that we need to renew and get current, so I'm working through some of those things. And then hopefully by that time, hopefully before that meeting, I can get you guys potentially a power sales agreement and some tariff information to kind of look at and kind of think about as far as a potential customer coming into town. So I'll try to get you guys some of that stuff. We're in the kind of the final draft stages. I've had staff look at it a few times, making a couple other tweaks, and then we're gonna look to send it off to the counterparty and get their feedback and kind of see where we go from there. So you guys are gonna be expecting something hopefully in the next several weeks to kind of take a look at and provide feedback, thoughts on, stop in when you call on that. So, but over the next several weeks, we'll be working on contracts, doing a lot of that stuff. So I'm just kind of maintaining things.
Okay. Any questions from you, the commissioners?
I get, if nothing else, I have a bit of feedback I received from a ratepayer today. In a positive way, this kind of goes to Dave and his crew. There's a manufacturer in town that's right-sizing some equipment on their manufacturing site. And they've had experience working with other utilities before, and they were really happy with how, number one, the initial process and how the initial process and conversation went. And Dave, your staff took ownership, laid out the plan of what needed to be done, took ownership of the plan, and it couldn't have gone any better or any easier is the feedback that I got today from it. It'd probably be a general user ratepayer. So kudos to you and your staff on taking care of the ratepayers.
I'll let them know. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, man.
Nice to hear.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Thanks for sharing. Anyone else? All right, takes care of communication then. Policies, looks like there was 17 up for review with no changes,
Yep.
so nothing there. And then we do have a couple that do require approval for some change, and I think those are Jared's.
Yep, I'll take this one. So, for efficiency reasons, looking to change the method of how we refund deposits from check to just putting it on their account. A, it'll save time on the payable side, and then B, a lot of checks go uncashed, so we then gotta either track them down. If we can't track them down, then they gotta go to the state to get their money that way. So we thought we'd try this. They'll always have the option to ask for it by check. Any credit on your account you can always ask for, so. Gonna give it a try, and hopefully for efficiency purposes works for both sides. We actually do have a few customers that say, why can't we put it on our account anyways?
Right.
Any questions?
It makes a lot of sense to me.
I'd make a motion to approve the proposed policy changes to the deposit requirements for both residential and commercial industrial.
I'll second.
Motion by Anthony and second by Troy to approve both policy changes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that takes us right into new business, and we have award contract for Hutchinson substation group operated switches to Southern Electric Equipment Company. Dan?
Yeah, we had 5 bid openings this month for the Hutchinson substation project. We'd like to award contracts for 3 of the 5. 2 are still being evaluated. I'll pull those over till probably next month. We'll bring those to you guys. But overall, I think we had a pretty good bid opening. We had 4 or 5 for each category, for each item, and the dollar amounts were pretty close. We had a couple of outliers, but overall, they were fairly consistent, so I think it was a good bidding. They all had their little, not all of them, but some had their quirks that kind of disqualified, but the first one is for the group operated switches, and we had 5 bids for that item, and the total was $456,476.04, and that's for 23 switches, varying between 115 kV and 69 kV.
So when it shows corrected bid amount, what does that mean exactly?
What happened was in their bidding, some of them had tabulation errors. So the unit prices were correct, but they didn't put in an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay. So the math just didn't math.
Yeah. And since we required unit pricing, that's what we went by. So that followed with what our requirements were for the bid.
Okay, thank you. And just to validate it, so these expenses are part of what we get reimbursed for down the road whenever.
Correct. Yep.
Any other questions for Dan?
I'll make a motion to award the contract for Hutchinson substation group operated switches as presented.
Second.
Motion by Matt and second by Kathy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Back to Dan for the steel to Galvanizers Inc.
Same as before, we had 5 bids on this as well. Again, they're all pretty good bids, and as far as dollar range, except for one outlier, but Galvanizers Inc., they're located in West Fargo, sort of local. I forgot to mention that the Seco is in North Carolina, but DGR had experience with them, and so they had no qualms with recommending Seco on that last bid. But these are galvanizers, they've been around for a long time too.
Yeah, when you say an outlier, that is an outlier.
The 2 million, yeah. There may have been more than a tabulation error on that. Carried a 0 somewhere.
Those, if we get it, we get it kind of deals.
The music sound.
Right.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Don't buy any steel in
Hail
Tennessee.
Mary.
Okay. Questions on this one for Dan?
I make a motion to award the contract with the Hutchinson substation steel as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Kathy and second by Anthony. All in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And the third one today is the steel transmission poles.
Yep, again, same, this one also galvanizers, was the best bid, and this is for 4 steel poles that we'll need in the substation yard. Pretty simple stuff there, and some anchor bolts for the foundations. Yeah, once again, it's Galvanizers Inc.
These are expensive poles.
Some of them are, yeah. The wood laminate poles, which will have it'll be a later meeting, those are pretty pricey too. The laminate poles
God, they're not using those at the mall.
They're using steel or aluminum, though, aren't they? Not cheap either.
Yeah, these are about 50,000 a piece.
I'll make a motion to approve award contract for Hutchinson substation steel transmission poles to Galvanizers Inc.
I'll second.
Motion by Anthony, second by Troy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It's nice to see that project moving forward.
Yeah. Dan, based off the engineer's estimates, how are these bids calculating, close to, above, and what about turnaround times?
These were kind of both sides of the mark. First one for the group operated switches, the estimate was about 100,000 low. And that was because one of the items, they're about 7,000 off on one of the items each. And there's 12 items, so they're expands out to about 90,000 is the difference. The other individual items, they're very close in their estimate, just that one item they're a little low. On the second item for the steel, they were 100,000 high on their estimate, DGR was. And then on the poles, they were really close to. So they're right around the bullseye on this one.
Turnaround times come in as expected?
Yep.
Nice. Well, that concludes the new business. I would like to take a minute to congratulate Jeremy as the new Secretary Treasurer of MMUA.
Thanks. Thank you.
Good honor for you to be recognized for, so congratulations.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good thing for Hutchinson Utilities just to be out there more and be more on the state and federal level. And so, 3-year commitment, and by that time I'll be done serving on the MMUA board. It's a 6-year commitment, so that'll take me through the last 3 years. And so it'll be good. It's a good group. It's a good organization where we represent the utilities, and obviously just want to do my part to do that as well for Hutchinson Utilities and municipals. So,
I have no doubt you'll represent us well, so congratulations.
thank you.
That concludes the agenda. Does anyone have
Motion to
anything else?
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah,